Now, the first step that we're going to do is to fit the clothing to my kitsune model. So I'm going to start out by deleting the armature for the shirt. Now, the reason I'm going to do this is in order to properly link the clothing to the avatar in Unity, all the bones need to have the same names as the bones on the avatar. And so with this in mind, um, even little weird conventions like they use underscore R instead of R can cause problems. And so this leaving the default armature in the model could actually cause more issues later on. I deleted the wrong thing. You want to find this green armature thing and delete it. Okay, so now we just have the mesh for the shirt. And so we're going to go ahead and hit tab to go into edit mode. And we're going to start by moving this down and trying to get this as close of a shape to our kitsune's body as possible without using any sculpting tools or anything like that. Like we're just going to try to move this mesh into shape. Uh, so the first thing that we've got an issue with is, the thickness and the position of the arms is a little different. So I'm going to start, I moved it down a little bit to where the neck's kind of, this is approximately on the neck. I'm going to use G and Z, G for grab and Z for the Z axis, and we're going to try to shift this into space. And if you need to, like sometimes the armature or the body gets into a position where it's kind of hard to see the hoodie or whatever. So you can do things like I'm going to click this point right back here, turn the body, and your best friend is going to be a tool called proportional editing. So if you click up here, it puts this, blue circle, and what that does is like if I try to do a transform, you'll see a circle. Well, it does like the name says, it proportionally grabs all the vertices around the one that you have selected, or ones if you have multiple selected. Now the default is smooth. I had it turned on to something else for another purpose, which we'll get into a little bit later. But smooth works great in most cases, so I'm going to grab and I'm going to hit Y to clamp movement to the Y axis, and I'm just going to start grabbing. And you notice it does, but if we turn off the body, you may need to grab a few more, like for example these. There we go. That looks like it's going to work fine. Okay. And again, like if it starts getting past the shape you want, just kind of uncheck things as needed. There we go. We can tune things, and we will tune things in a second. But for now, this will work. Same thing for this. We're just going to grab this and yeah, this is a great tool. That proportional editing can really do a lot. And honestly, like you notice, the underarm is kind of distorting a little bit. So for now, let me go ahead and click this again. Here we go. Make sure to check because, like, yeah, see, so that may not be what you want. We are going to do something else in a little bit that's going to help us out with this. So, uh, do be careful with that. But yeah, there's a lot of different tools to help with this. For now, we're trying to get as close as possible without using some of the more advanced tools. Just because the advanced tools have a greater tendency to deform things, so I like using these basic tools first, just because they give me a little more precision over things, and like especially once you start getting to the joints, like you're gonna want these to line up on the elbows on your model, so there are some things you're gonna kind of want to watch out for. So right now I'm gonna highlight this loop at the edge of the sleeve in this loop, and this is what I had the linear type turned on for, because if I try to do this with smooth, like G and Z, And I'm going to turn this up to where it grabs the whole sleeve. You see, look at that. It's okay, but the sleeves kind of tend to curve a little bit, and our arms are not curved, which is an issue. So what you can do is just come up here and choose linear, and this, for this specific purpose of changing a T pose into something called an A pose, this tends to work a little bit better. So we're just going to do G and Z. You notice, you see it does work a lot better. Like the arms are, the shape of the arms is much, much more like an A, which is what we want. And then G and Y, just to get it, and then GZ, and then trying to find out what I want to scale here. Because I may not, it may be the, I think it's the X I don't want. If you hold down Shift and X, you'll scale on both the Y and Z. And so we're just gonna, like I said, you can do a lot without going to sculpting. Sculpting is definitely going to help us, and we're definitely going to use sculpting, but there's a lot we can do without ever touching the sculpt tools. And so that's, I want to get as far as I can before we do that. So scale a little bit, just a smidgen. And the reason we're scaling a little bit is uh, we're trying to get a little bit longer, and then GZ again. Okay. And as you can see, like, this is really working. Like, I'm really, really starting to, like, we're really starting to see the, oh, what am I trying to say? The sleeves are starting to look more like our character's form, right? Cool. So, like I said, it's not rocket science. Just kind of make sure, uh, if it clips a little, you can either fix it here, or whenever we go to the part I'm going to talk about next, or the sculpting parts, you'll have a chance to fix this. So don't worry about it clipping a little. The main thing you're wanting to do is make sure, like, for the most part, that this, uh, that, like, there's no big parts. Like, this is a big part, and we're going to fix that here in a sec. But, like, for example, like this little bit of clipping, we can use sculpting to fix that, and we're going to. So, yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn off the body real quick, because I need to grab, you want to grab kind of a vertex. Don't want the whole waist at this point. You kind of just want under the arms to be pulled out a little, like that. Same thing here. And we may be fixing this up a little bit. Okay. As said, you don't need to, we can leave it a little loose, because like I said, we're going to pull this in a minute whenever we do our clipping. For now, or clipping, good gosh. When we do sculpting, excuse me, when we do sculpting, we're going to pull this in a little bit. This is primarily, right now, we're just trying to do some basic cleanup just to get it a little less rough. And actually, I think it's about time. We're about to the point where we can start sculpting it. This is kind of just something because you may be thinking, oh, how do you know you're at the point where you're ready to start sculpting? Like, why not keep doing this? So there's certain things sculpting is better at, and there's certain things that this kind of mesh deformation is better at. And so you reach a lot of it is just kind of it comes with experience. So, I've played around with this program a lot to the point to where I can just kind of tell when I'm at that point or when things would be better. Sculpting is better for pulling things out a little bit. If we're wanting to do more major things and more precise things, like I said, like turning this into A-frame, that was much better done as a mesh operation like I'm doing now. But right now we're to the point where, for the most part, this thing is done. It clips a little bit, but yeah, it's like 80-90% done. So, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to come up here to the top and go into sculpting mode. And make sure that the thing you want to sculpt is actually selected. Because if you have like the body selected, you're going to be sculpting the body. And what we're going to do isn't going to work. So, go into making sure that you have your clothing selected. Go into sculpting. It'll look like this. If you want to, you can turn on the material to make it look like it did before. And there's the one thing you want to make sure you have on is up here this enable mesh symmetry. There we go. So what this is going to do is any operation I do to the left side, it's going to copy over to the right and vice versa. And that's just to make sure that we keep things symmetrical. The other things you're going to play around with is the radius, which is going to determine the size of the area that you're pulling. So see right here, we got a bigger one. This comes into play because the bigger the area, the more it pulls, but it's also going to pull in the other direction more. So sometimes there's a little bit of an issue with that. Like you can end up kind of pulling things a little too far, so you may not want to pull like a huge area. You may just want to like pull in a little bit. And so if you find out that you're pulling too much, where it's really, really hard to get the area you want to pull, try reducing the radius. You can go a long way. And don't worry about like I'll teach you something. There's other tools we're going to be using here in a second. For now, the primary one that we're using is is this elastic deform. I missed that a little bit, but you want the elastic deform tool. This will let you just kind of tug out the areas on your avatar like that. And same thing here. Sometimes, we may be getting to that point. Sometimes there's another tool that I use called inflate, which is really useful for this kind of stuff. But for now, I'm just trying to, aha, see, this is what I was talking about. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo a few times. I'm going to drop down the radius a little bit because I think it's actually tugging the opposite side of the sleeve. Okay, so we've gotten to a point, you notice under the arm, I'm having a devil of a time trying to get that. So there's a few other tools we can try. One is the smooth, which is what it sounds like. And if you hold down shift, it does the opposite, which I guess it's like rough or something. Uh, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I use this more for like if you do this, sometimes the mesh is a little rough, like especially on the sides because we've been tugging on it. And you can use the smooth to kind of smooth it out a little bit. Now you don't want to do that too much because sometimes like this artist kind of wanted to make it look like the fabric was bunched up a little bit, and that can destroy that kind of stuff. But sometimes you may need to do this in order to do this. The other one that I'm going to use, and we're going to use this right now because I think this is what we need, is the inflate tool. And that does what it sounds like. Literally in kind of bulges out the mesh in the area you use it. And the reason that this is kind of what we want right now is under the arm, has the unfortunate property that it has kind of been sunk in a little bit. So yeah, that got us closer to where we need to go. We're just going to pull this out, maybe, if it will let me, and smooth that. Smooth it out a little, and if you find it's doing too much, up here you have a strength slider. Go ahead and just pop that down, and you can kind of, like I said, a lot of this is just going back and forth. This can be a very tedious process. It's not difficult to do, but it can certainly be time consuming, and it can definitely take a little while. Also, the other annoying thing is this is going to tug based on camera angle, so you may have to adjust your camera just a little bit to get kind of the results you want. And I may go ahead and speed up or clip off here and just kind of oh, what's the word? Pick back up with the next part, just because, like I said, this can get very tedious, and I don't want like a 20-minute YouTube video of me just wrestling back and forth with the different tools. There. Like I said, a lot of it is just playing around. There we go. And tab, and then if we, yeah. Yeah, like I said, a lot of it is just playing around with different tools and experimenting with things. So, yep, right there. So, see, you notice right here we have an area of under the arm that's like really there. Like it's scrunched in, and that is the problem. That's why it looks so weird. So, there we go. Still looking a little weird, and I'm guessing it's going to be still clipping. Oh yeah. But that may have gotten us close to where we can use sculpting tools again. So like I said, it's a combination of mesh deformation and sculpting tools that are going to get you where you need to go. I'm showing you some of the other ones that I use because sometimes it's, you play around with this stuff, and sometimes one tool may be what you need, sometimes another one is. So I want you to know they're available, but at the end of the day, just pick what makes everything look best. Like, you don't want any weird creases or anything under the arms. So if you get that, switch to another tool, like try smoothing it out a little bit. When you smooth it out, you may find that like a piece that previously was closed is now, clipping again. Or not closed, but clipping. A piece that you fixed clipping on is now clipping again, and you have to uh, go back and forth a little bit. It's fine. Like I said, this is all part of the job. This is why rigging is in such high demand, because people don't want to spend time doing this stuff, and I mean, I don't blame them. I definitely don't blame them. It's annoying, but it's also why it's an industry that's worth, why people get paid for it. Okay, we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. Hey, hey. All right. Like I said, I don't wanna smooth it over too much, because I do think that this artist, I do think they intentionally have some like folds and stuff in there to make it a little more interesting. I don't think that the goal is to have the whole thing be just super flat. But at the same time, you also want to make sure that you also want to make sure that there's no weird bulges that are caused by bad sculpting or whatever. Like, you don't want it to look like there's a bubble on your arm or anything. So yeah, we're just, like I said, very carefully. There's no, like, this isn't a scientific thing where it needs to be super precise. This is very much a visual or artistic, whatever you want to call it, uh, Like it's just about making sure it looks good. Like if you look at what you're doing and you're like, that looks really nice. Like it looks really clean. There's no clipping. It looks like the asset was basically what it boils down to is if it looks like the asset was made for the character that you're trying to pop it on, your work is done. You know, like I said, make sure there's no major deformation. Yeah, this needs to be pulled up just a little. I think whenever I was, there was a point where I was pulling in the base a little bit, and I think that I maybe pulled it down a smidge. So yeah, just lift that up. Hey, Kyotsuke. That was be careful, by the way. Sorry about that. I'm trying to stick to English. I've been living in Japan for a little bit, so sometimes it just kind of pops out. All right. Hey, 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 hey. Yep, see that's exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes this is what makes it so tedious. Now, if you get out of sync, because like if I try to do anything to this arm at this point, I think it's because I did not highlight the other side. Unfortunately, the symmetry for whatever reason can be really like it doesn't work even though you're supposed to. Like I have symmetry on, you would think that would have worked, but no. All right. And I'm going to turn this back on smooth because we're going to need to grab this and pull it out a little bit. All right. See how we do on that? Yeah, that's we'll smooth it out. We've got symmetry turned off at this point. Go ahead and go back in. Smooth this out a little bit. My gosh. I really messed that up. See, I thought I was done. Just making sure. Pulling it out a little bit. There we go. And now, like I said, smooth it. Just making sure. Just want to make sure that like this. There we go. And this should have some materials with it. And so in a minute, we're going to fix the materials. Or maybe I'll make that another video, fixing the materials for this. Or part of a video or something. I don't know. I'm trying to keep these segments from getting too long. Uh, again, so that I can take a break and also because it helps me with the algorithm and whatnot. Like to have more videos versus less. All right. Oh my goodness. Because that's clipping just a smidge. I'd like it not to. There we go. And pull that in just because it's got that sharp ridge on the back, which doesn't, oh, I just realized hang on. So I just realized I had turned symmetry off, and for this, I probably want symmetry on. Now, I'm going to pull this in a little bit because there's like this weird ridge on the back of the neck for this thing. And I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like this. There. There. Okay. Boom. There we go. So, for all intents and purposes, I'm pretty happy with this. Uh, Real quick, you know what we'll go ahead and do with this video. We have two different materials. We've got a metal zipper and we've got a sweatshirt. So, for the metal zipper, you know what, real quick, let's go over, okay. So we fitted it. Next time I want to go over UV mapping and over materials. So I'll say that for the next segment. So for now, I'm going to clip this off here. This will be kind of the first section, which will be fitting. Second one is going to be is going to delve into making materials, textures, and all that fun stuff. Then we're going to rig this thing and finally weight paint it. And I guess after that, I said finally, but there'll be one more talking about moving from Blender into Unity. So, like I said, if you want to see the entire series, please make sure to like and subscribe as I'm going to be having some other videos like this.